I'm I'm laughing because as I was setting up my setup, you know how well for I use my phone for my camera and it clamps between the two things on the holder,
Yeah.
whatever, the phone. All of a sudden it says emergency services and it starts flashing because I guess if you hold down two buttons, however you've got it set up, it will alert emergency services. So I go out and tell Trevor, and he's like, "Oh no!" He's like, "If they come to the house, like you have to ring the doorbell because like they're gonna tase me or something if I do." So,
Right?
like you're gonna have to answer the door because they're gonna tase me.
Oh my gosh.
It's like,
Um,
is Raylene okay? Got a notice from her phone.
this one time I was like dialing out and I kept dialing out and I kept getting 911. And I was like, they're like, you keep calling. And I'm like, I'm trying to dial out. And they're like, well, what's the they're like, no number in the world, like in Canada, starts with 911. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. I was trying to dial 914. And for whatever reason, I kept dialing 911. So it was
Oh
so
no.
embarrassed. Yeah, I was so embarrassed.
Uh well,
Yeah.
I forgot like that the little buttons, and just where they're placed on the phone,
Yeah.
stupid. So it only went off for a second. So
Well,
hopefully, like nobody called me back to say, "Are you alive? Have you been murdered?"
yeah. Yeah, right now the
Nope.
FBI is tracking you.
That's right. And it takes them an embarrassingly long amount of time because we're
Yeah,
in Canada and when you need emergency
I know.
services,
Not
it's
here.
free, but they still don't come.
Right?
It's free because they don't show up.
Exactly. There is no service. It's a
Uh,
joke.
it's just a joke. It's all
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah. They just made it up.
Uh,
Yeah. So,
anyways,
how
fun,
was your day?
fun. What? My day was good. Um, I felt like I had something specific to talk about or tell you, and now I can't remember because it got all like flustered with the 911 situation. So now I'm like, wait, what are we talking about? I don't know. Uh no, yeah, what have I been doing? I've been debating something. Maybe you can help me.
Okay.
Um so I know I've talked to you about it, but I have written a book in the past, which I never published. It's not that good. It needs a lot of work. I mean, I still feel like it's got enough bones to redo it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like still proud of it when I read it. And although there's definitely like, sorry, my notifications are going off. It's definitely cringy, so would need some help
Some
for sure.
decringing.
It's a little dated. It's a little, you know, maybe insensitive in places. Certainly not very. Uh, I don't know. It feels like a 15-year-old girl wrote it.
Oh.
So whatever. I'm not. I wasn't 15, but I'm not embarrassed. It was the first. Like I wrote a 70,000 word fantasy novel while waiting for my kid's bus to come. So I am
Yeah.
proud of that. At least I did it. But it does need a good polish. It needs a good sort of rewrite. And I think
Yeah.
that would be really fun to do. And in fact, one of my daughters is has expressed a lot of interest in maybe co-writing it with me. And I think
Hmm.
that would be really cool because she would have a very different perspective, and she already has great ideas.
Yeah.
um, but the other part is I have a different book inside me and I've not started writing it. It's very different. It's very
Hmm.
much about the concept of, kind of feeling like you don't have your footing in your world, right? Just like
Yeah.
not a fantasy book or even a fiction book. It would probably be more, you know, nonfiction, but a perspective, right?
Yeah.
And but I don't know which to start on. Do I go with the older, and cuz I kind of have it in my head and it would be really nice to close that chapter, so to speak,
Yeah.
or do I start something fresh? I don't know. What are
I know
your
that's a
thoughts?
well, I'm very much like you. So that's kind of hard. I would say like I would probably finish the first one because it's a different experience that you're going to have, especially if you're co-writing it with your daughter. I think there's something that could be really special about that and something really amazing and good, and like a lot of creativity that the two of you could do, I think maybe that would be a good
Mm,
start. And it might even spark some ideas for this other book that you want to do, you know? So,
yeah. And it might be just a fun experience
yeah.
with her too, you
Yeah.
know. If we don't kill each other, it'd be a
Well,
pretty
yeah.
fun experience. Out of all my kids, her and I are unlikely to get into it. We have a pretty good working relationship.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
other kids where we might butt heads a little bit more
Mhm.
because we're a little too similar.
Yeah,
But
that's my oldest and me. We are
oh yeah.
over the same person. Yeah, we were actually just having a conversation yesterday at supper, and my husband was laughing because he's like, "Oh my goodness, you sound just like your mother." And so, yeah, and I was sitting there laughing because I was like, "That does sound like me." So, yeah, in a lot of
Exactly like
situations, her and I
me.
don't get along because we're just
Mm.
too similar. But that's all right.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
happens. That happens.
yeah. So,
Um, and how was your week? What are you working on this week?
well, I've been just finishing up some loose ends, kind of helping out here and there. Um, Not really a whole lot. Spending time with my kids because it's I don't see them during the day anymore because they're at school. So I try to see them a bit
Mhm.
at night and stuff. But yeah, I haven't actually really done a whole lot. I've been working on some stuff on the computer and trying to get that going. And so it's just, I feel like I'm doing that. And then I've been sadly looking for other work, a different
Mm,
job, and doesn't seem to be panning out. So, just kind of that and a little bit of here and there.
yeah.
Cleaning my house.
That's
No.
yeah, doing all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's hard for everybody to find work right now.
Ugh.
It seems like that anyways, especially like there seems to be more remote or online
Mhm.
jobs, but then when people talk about actually going to find those, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Well, and you bump
Yeah.
into a lot of scams. Like, it's actually quite
Mm.
ridiculous. Like, how many things are not legit? And it's such a waste of time, right? And it's just,
Mhm.
people don't have time for that. And it's so discouraging too, because you're bumping into a lot of things just like they're not legit.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And you go down a rabbit trail only to
yeah,
find out that it's not, you know.
yeah.
Maybe
So,
you should just watch more TikTok because TikTok, they all tell you that there's all kinds of ways to make money, and I'm sure they're not scams. I'm sure it's
yeah,
all real.
no. Okay, yeah.
You just have to
Or
follow their steps, you
their
know.
steps and maybe
Mhm.
invest some money that you don't have, right? To like,
Well, you got to invest something, right? Like how
yeah,
how will you know that you're really like putting
committed.
all your effort in if you
Yeah,
don't spend thousands of dollars
I
on that
know. Yeah,
program or
right?
course or
Or just for the gear that they're going to give you,
oh
the
yeah,
gear.
free stuff.